The Betazoid puppy whined in agonized pain, its fur shifting between somber hues of deep blue and purple, as a shaking human hand reached out to caress its mangy, matted coat, whispering, "They all left you here to die, didn't they, little one? Not anymore. The humans are here now. I'm here now." Wayne Bennett, 35-year-old xenobiologist and lone human on Betazed, shuddered with barely contained fury as he scooped up the puppy's fragile, battered body, its ribs jutting sharply against fur slick with blood, piss, and shit. Wayne had thought he'd seen cruelty before, well acquainted with the sneering disgust the Betazoids regarded him with, a primitive, savage daring to live among their enlightened, empathic society. He'd endured the discrimination for one purpose, to prove humans and Betazoids could coexist, that humanity deserved a place in the stars. Yet in one moment, cradling a malnourished scrap of life, he questioned that resolve. The veterinary clinic staff had turned the puppy, Lyra, he'd decided, away without a second thought, claiming it a defective runt not worth saving. Wayne imagined his human colleagues' reactions. They wouldn't even wait to hear the full story before descending on Betazed in force, demanding retribution for the mistreatment of an innocent life. The Betazoids thought humans savage, but there was nothing more brutal than denying compassion to the helpless, wounded, and afraid. As he carried Lyra back to his apartment, feeling her pain shudders gradually subside, Wayne made a decision. He would save this puppy, no matter the personal cost, and in doing so, perhaps he could prove the humans were more than the barbarians of Betazoid imagination. Their compassion was not weakness, but strength, a strength that could build bridges between worlds or burn them to ash. As Lyra's fur began to shift to a pale, hopeful yellow, the ghost of a smile tugged at Wayne's lips. The first seeds of change had just been planted. For once, the puppy wouldn't be the only abandoned creature on this damned planet. No more, not while humans still breathed. Wayne's apartment became a makeshift clinic as he tirelessly worked to nurse Lyra back to health. Late nights were spent hunched over his computer, video chatting with Dr. Patel. She walked him through creating a nutrient-rich formula, perfectly balanced, to help Lyra regain her strength. Wayne's kitchen transformed into a laboratory, beakers and tubes scattered across countertops as he mixed and measured, determined to get it just right. "Now for her injuries," Dr. Patel said, her voice crackling through the speakers. "The leg fracture will need a splint, nothing fancy, just something to keep it stable while it heals." Wayne nodded, already rummaging through his closet for supplies. A ruler, some gauze, and medical tape later, Lyra sported a tiny splint on her hind leg. She whimpered as Wayne secured it in place, her fur fading to a dull grey. I know, he murmured, stroking her head, "but this will help, I promise." Next came the gash on her side, angry and raw. Dr. Patel guided him through cleaning and dressing the wound, Lyra's fur shifting between shades of blue and purple as Wayne worked, betraying her pain and fear. As the days turned into weeks, Wayne watched in awe as Lyra slowly began to heal. Her fur, once matted and dull, now gleamed with health, shifting to vibrant purples and pinks when she was happy. And she was happy often, her tail wagging whenever Wayne walked through the door, her small body wiggling with excitement. But it wasn't just her physical wounds that were healing. Wayne found himself confiding in Lyra, telling her about his homesickness, his frustrations with the Betazoids, and somehow she seemed to understand, nuzzling against his hand or curling up in his lap when the loneliness hit hardest. On a whim, Wayne snapped a photo of Lyra, her fur a brilliant purple, and sent it to his colleagues back on Earth. "Look at her now," he typed. "A little love goes a long way." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, the photo had gone viral, shared across social media platforms and news outlets. Animal rights activists lauded Wayne's compassion, while others expressed outrage at the Betazoid's callousness. "This is just the beginning," Wayne murmured to Lyra, watching as the messages and notifications poured in. "We're going to change things, you and I. We're going to show them what humanity is really about." A sharp knock at the door startled Wayne from his musings. He glanced at Lyra, who had tensed, her fur fading to a wary orange. "Stay here," Wayne murmured, rising to answer the door. He found himself face to face with a tall, imposing betazoid, dressed in the formal robes of a high-ranking government official. The betazoid's dark eyes seemed to bore into Wayne's very soul. "Wayne Bennett?" the betazoid asked, his voice deep and resonant. "Yes," Wayne replied cautiously. "I am Zor-El, Minister of Interspecies Relations. May I come in? We have much to discuss." Wayne hesitated for a moment before stepping aside to let Zor-El enter. The betazoid's gaze immediately fell on Lyra, who had retreated to a corner, her fur a deep, anxious blue. "I see the rumors are true," Zor-El said, turning to face Wayne. "You have taken in a defective animal and are attempting to heal it." "Her name is Lyra," Wayne said firmly, "and she's not defective. She's a living, feeling creature who deserves a chance at life." Zor-El sighed, clasping his hands behind his back. "Mr. Bennett, I understand your intentions are noble, but you must realize the consequences of your actions. Your interference with our customs is causing unrest among the betazoid population." "Unrest?" Wayne asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yes. Some of our younger citizens have begun to question our traditions, arguing that we should show more compassion towards these defective animals. Others, however, remain firm in their beliefs. They see your actions as a threat to our way of life." Wayne shook his head. "With all due respect, Minister, I don't see how showing compassion and empathy could ever be a threat. These are universal values that transcend species boundaries." Zor-El's expression hardened. "You are a guest on our planet, Mr. Bennett. Your actions could jeopardize the fragile peace between our species. I must insist that you return the creature to the authorities and let nature take its course." Wayne's jaw clenched. "I can't do that. I won't abandon Lyra or any other animal in need. Your own history is filled with examples of individuals who fought for change, who challenged the status quo. Progress often comes at the cost of temporary unrest." Zor-El opened his mouth to respond, but was interrupted by a soft knock at the door. Wayne frowned, not expecting any other visitors. He opened the door to reveal a young betazoid woman, her eyes wide and earnest. "Kira?" Zor-El asked, surprise coloring his tone. The woman Kyra stepped inside, her gaze locking with Wayne's. "I'm here to help," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I've been running a network of underground animal rescue shelters. Lyra isn't an isolated case. Countless other animals have been abandoned or euthanized by the authorities." Wayne's eyes widened, a surge of hope rising in his chest. "You mean there are others who feel the same way? Who want to help these animals?" Kyra nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. "More than you know. We've been working in secret, afraid of the consequences, but your story has given us the courage to speak out." Zor-El looked between them, his expression unreadable. "This changes nothing," he said finally. "The law is clear. These creatures are to be left to their fate." Wayne squared his shoulders, meeting Zor-El's gaze unflinchingly. "Then perhaps it's time for the law to change." Wayne squared his shoulders, his eyes blazing with determination. "We won't back down," he said firmly. "Lyra and all the other abandoned animals deserve better. We're going to fight for them, no matter what it takes." Kira nodded, her face set. "I'll spread the word among the underground shelters. We'll organize peaceful demonstrations, make our voices heard. The Council of Elders can't ignore us forever." Over the next few weeks, Wayne and Kira threw themselves into planning the demonstrations. They reached out to supporters across the Betazoid homeworld, coordinating marches and rallies in every major city. Lyra, now fully healed, became the face of the movement. Her vibrant purple fur and soulful eyes a symbol of hope and resilience. The first demonstration took place in the capital city. Thousands of Betazoids and a handful of off-world supporters marching through the streets, chanting slogans and holding up signs. Lyra trotted at the head of the procession, her head held high, flanked by other rescued animals. The sight of so many defective creatures, once hidden away and left to die, now proudly on display, sent shockwaves through the Betazoid population. As the demonstrations grew in size and frequency, so too did the opposition. Traditionalist groups, outraged by what they saw as an attack on Betazoid culture, began to organize counter-protests. Shouting matches erupted in the streets, angry Betazoids hurling insults and accusations at the demonstrators. Wayne and Kyra found themselves the target of increasing hostility, their faces plastered across news broadcasts and social media, labeled as traitors and agitators. They received death threats, had their homes vandalized, but still they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that they were fighting for something bigger than themselves. It all came to a head one evening, as Wayne and Lyra made their way home from a particularly tense demonstration. Out of the shadows, a group of masked figures emerged, wielding clubs and pipes. Wayne barely had time to react before they were upon him, raining down blows with brutal force. He fell to the ground, curling into a ball as the attackers kicked and stomped at his prone form. Through the haze of pain, he heard Lyra's frantic barks, felt the crackle of psychic energy in the air. The puppy, no longer small and helpless, stood over her fallen friend, her fur blazing a deep angry red. A wave of sheer terror washed over the attackers, their eyes going wide behind their masks. They stumbled back, clutching at their heads, some dropping to their knees. Lyra advanced on them, her body trembling with rage, projecting a maelstrom of fear and confusion that sent them scattering into the night. Wayne lay on the ground, blood pooling beneath him, his breath coming in shallow gasps. Lyra nuzzled at his face, whining softly, her fur fading to a muted blue. In the distance, sirens wailed, the sound of running footsteps drawing closer. "It's okay," Wayne whispered, his hand finding Lyra's soft fur. "We did it. We showed them they can't ignore us now." The attack, captured on video by a nearby security camera, went viral within hours. Betazoids across the planet watched in horror as Wayne was brutally beaten, only to be saved by the very creature he had fought so hard to protect. The outpouring of support was overwhelming, crowds gathering outside the hospital where Wayne had been taken, holding vigil and demanding justice. In a move that shocked the galaxy, the Betazoid Council of Elders announced an emergency session to address the growing unrest. As Wayne lay in his hospital bed, Lyra curled at his side. He watched the live broadcast with bated breath. "For too long," the head of the council said, her voice trembling with emotion, "we have clung to outdated traditions, allowing cruelty and neglect to fester in the shadows. No more. Today, we begin the process of drafting new legislation, laws that will protect the rights of all sentient beings, regardless of their physical or mental abilities." Tears streamed down Wayne's face as cheers erupted from the crowd outside his window. He hugged Lyra close, burying his face in her fur. They had won. Against all odds, they had sparked a revolution. But even as he celebrated, Wayne knew the fight was far from over. Change wouldn't happen overnight, and there would be those who resisted every step of the way. But with Lyra by his side, and a planet full of allies at his back, he knew they would never stop fighting. For the abandoned, the forgotten, the defective, for all the Lyras of the universe, waiting for someone to stand up and say, "No more." Wayne watched the council proceedings on a small vid-screen from his hospital bed, his heart pounding. The chamber was in an uproar. Councillors shouted over each other, gesticulating wildly. Zor-El strode to the central podium, his robes billowing. The chamber fell silent. "My fellow Betazoids," he began, his deep voice resonating, "we stand at a crossroads. For generations we have prided ourselves on our enlightenment, our empathic connection to all life, yet we have failed to extend that compassion to the most vulnerable among us." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Zor-El pressed on. "This human, Wayne Bennett, has shown us the depths of our hypocrisy. He risked everything to save a creature we deemed unworthy of life. In doing so, he held a mirror to our society, and what we saw was not pretty." Zor-El's eyes flashed. "But we have a chance now to be better, to live up to the ideals we claim to hold dear. I move to pass the Animal Sentience Act and enshrine the rights of all feeling beings into Betazoid law." The vote was agonizingly close. Wayne gripped Lyra's fur as the tally came in. 52% in favor, 48% opposed. The chamber erupted, cheers and boos mingling in cacophony. But Wayne barely heard it. His doctor's words echoed in his mind. The damage to your spinal cord, it's permanent. You'll need specialized treatment, facilities we just don't have here. I'm sorry, Wayne, you have to go back to Earth. Earth. The word felt foreign on his tongue. He'd spent so long fighting to make a home here, and now... Kyra squeezed his hand, her eyes shining. You did it, Wayne. You changed everything. Lyra will never know another day of suffering. Wayne swallowed hard. Kira, I can't take her with me. She belongs here, with her people, with you. Kira's face crumpled, but she nodded. I'll love her like she was my own, I swear it. The day of his departure was a blur. Kira brought Lyra to the spaceport, the puppy's fur a mournful blue. Wayne held her tight, memorizing the feel of her heartbeat against his chest. Be good, he whispered into her fur. Be brave, I'll come back for you, I promise. He handed her to Kira, vision blurred with tears. As he boarded the shuttle, he heard Lyra's anguished howl, felt it reverberate in his bones. The months on Earth were agony, physical therapy, surgeries, a parade of doctors poking and prodding. But always his thoughts were with Lyra. Until the message came. Wayne stared at the screen, uncomprehending. Lyra gone, a genetic defect, undetected. She'd slipped away peacefully in her sleep. Grief crashed over him like a wave, driving him to his knees. Lyra, his beacon of hope, his guiding star. But even through the pain, Wayne felt a flicker of purpose. Lyra's legacy would live on. In the laws she'd helped pass, the minds she'd changed, in Kira's kind heart, and the hearts of every betazoid she'd touched. Wayne closed his eyes, picturing her as she'd been, small and broken but so full of life, a fighter right to the end. I won't let you down, little one, he whispered. I'll keep fighting. For you, for all of them, until every star in the sky is a sanctuary. He reached for his comm, fingers trembling as he typed out a message. Tell me what I can do, I'm ready. And across the light years he felt an answer in his soul, a soft, joyful yip echoing through the cosmos. Wayne smiled through his tears, Lyra's spirit, undiminished, undefeated. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.